You took it.
Thank you.
Kristen Carter.
We're going to start. We have, please, roll call.
Karen Valentino,
Yes.
Mike Petulli,
Yes.
Cindy Gaibo,
Yes.
Linda Von Clark, Melissa Wendy,
Yes.
Alan Chase,
Yep.
Saran Pepe,
Yes.
Alright. And I can read this, before the motion to have the public hearing. Well, I'll read this before the motion and you guys can stay and then we can have you leave after, before our motion to open the hearing. So we've made a few changes, the town of New Haven has as far as, the way that, they want, public hearings, and other meetings held. So I'd like to read out to you, the procedure for tonight for the hearing. The town of New Haven is the controlling authority at all public hearings and board meetings. We will not relinquish that authority at any time. If you've been recognized as having the floor, you may speak for 3 minutes. No questions will be answered by me or any other person, as your time belongs to you and will not be infringed upon. You'll come up to the podium to speak, and you'll get there before the 3 minutes starts. Please remain on topic. Verbal interruptions, shouting, or other outbursts, including slanderous or obscene language, signs, or movement, is prohibited. Please be respectful when someone has the floor. If at any time while you're speaking you hear the gavel being struck, you will stop talking immediately to find out what you have said that is not allowed. Once direction is given, you may continue. Any person that continues to speak over the gavel, ignoring the authority of the chairperson, will be done speaking for the evening. If you speak without being recognized as having the floor, then you are out of order. Any person determined to be out of order will be issued a warning. Upon receiving a second warning, the person will be asked to leave. Okay? Before we begin, Sue Ann Tefke, if you can raise your hand, and that is our new alternate member of the planning board, and she was appointed by the town board last Tuesday night. All right, so welcome, thank you. And before we make a motion, we are going to be talking about Circle T, so if you need to recuse yourself, please do so. Need a motion to open the public hearing for Circle T Enterprises.
I make a motion that we open the public hearing for the Circle T Enterprises. Second.
Karen Valentino,
Yes.
Mike Petulli,
Yes.
Melissa Wendy,
Yes.
Alan Chase,
Yes.
Alright. So, if we could have, Jamie come up to the podium, please.
Yes, as was discussed at the last meeting, what constitutes reasonable and necessary are extremely subjective. The neighbors in this residential neighborhood reasonably expect the mutually agreed upon conditions of operation to be enforced and adhered to. There is no warrantable change in circumstance that necessitates the change of travel, nor the hours of operation. It was clearly stated by the applicant last meeting that he merely wanted to avoid, complaints. Their applicant has argued that they give a significant tax base to this community. They only pay property taxes like the rest of us. They do not pay increased sales taxes. There are a lot of us in this town that pay a lot of taxes as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Russ Christensen?
Yeah, I want to reiterate that I don't see any change in circumstances would warrant allowing an expanded scope of operation or traveling north on Darrow Road. However, I personally have witnessed trucks, Circle T trucks going up north on Darrow Road. In fact, I think it was September 9th at 9:44 in the morning. I followed one. After I cycled by, I went in the house, got my keys, and followed it to see if it was making a local delivery. It was nowhere on Darrow Road. Went down to Albright Road, went down to Albright, came down to Lily Marsh Road. Nowhere in sight down there, so they're just passing through. Furthermore, I think that Circle T has demonstrated that they flout conditions of the previous permit issuance. Like the bio barriers, if you will, the buffer area is laughable. He's got two arborvitae out there 25 feet apart. That's no buffer. There's no buffer on the backside for the noise echoing down the valley behind our houses. And, the hours of operation are in contention. As I said in the previous meeting, 5:45, like clockwork, you can hear trucks, tailgates slamming, backup alarms on payloaders, etc. Getting ready for the 6 o'clock operation. So I think that we need increased oversight to the Circle T operations. And additionally, whatever that concrete thing is that they put in front of their driveway, I understand that they were told they had to do that, is gonna be a barrier to the drainage ditch there. It's in a low spot and they built a concrete barrier. And what bottom they're pouring the concrete in there, there's no pipe or anything to allow passage of water underneath. That is going to lead to erosion of our road. I think that Circle T not only needs increased flexibility, they need increased oversight.
Thank you. Mark Williams?
It is not a change in circumstance to say that other businesses travel north on Darrow Road, so Circle T should not be able to do so too. It is not a change of circumstances to say that you want to expand hours of the batch plant so people won't be able to complain about noise coming from the site. Mr. Simmons said that there isn't going to be an increase in production of cement. So what is the change of circumstance that explains why they're asking for a change to the original 23 conditions? What about the pad being poured at least 2 months ago? Has it been inspected? It wasn't supposed to be poured until the new site was approved. This is according to their site plan condition number 19, so already they have violated the site plan. Circle T site map shows a grassy area on the northeast end of the site's high elevation. However, as you drive by, or as shown in the pictures, we see cement trucks are parked there. So if parking areas that make noise, idling vehicles, backup beepers, etc. aren't shown correctly, what else is incorrect on the site? Note that nuisance noises that are most disturbing occur before and after the normal business hours. Noises such as tailgate slamming, jackhammering, banging out towers, the heater sounds, etc. New Haven's local law number 2, section 5.1 talks about the noise that we, the neighbors, aren't supposed to be hearing. We do hear these noises outside the site's border. We hear noises outside and most importantly inside our homes. Circle T, the town, and the Oswego County Supreme Court agreed to an in-depth noise study. It was to be done within 12 months. However, a year plus past the agreed time frame, a sound survey was done, and not even on a busy day. This, we believe, skewed the results. We asked the planning board to uphold the local laws for the preservation of the everyday lives of the residents that live near this batch plant. Please attach this record for this public hearing, on behalf of myself, and Cindy and Elmer Kanu, who cannot attend. Would you like this?
Yes, please.
You want me to read it here,
Pretty sure I can grab that. All right, Bingo, claims?
Okay, I want to say thank you for posting all the documents for us to review. That was very helpful. The original 23 conditions were imposed to mitigate the effects of having an industrial cement batch plant operating in a residential neighborhood. To change the site plan, there needs to be a change in circumstance. The change in circumstance letter to the town states the company is busy, and in addition of a second silo will allow the company to meet increased demand for its product. Although last week's public hearing, Mr. Simmons says Circle T is not necessarily expanding deliveries, the silos, so that they can store another kind of cement on site, the DOT grade Portland cement. Part of the purpose of Circle T's vehicles traveling south from the plant is so they will continue onto county roads so as to reduce the impact on our local roads. As presented in the original site plan approval, those employed at the batch plant are not prevented from traveling on the north end of Darrow Road to go to or from work. Only Circle T's business vehicles have restrictions. To remedy Circle T's competitors using Darrow Road, the town should simply repost the local delivery only signs so at the intersection of Darrow, County Route 6 and County Route 51. When comparing the noise study that was done to the DEC's policy titled Assessing and Mitigating Noise Impacts, Circle T's noise study just doesn't seem to cover all the levels as stated in this DEC policy. According to Mr. Caracoli, the cement trucks will actually slow traffic on Darrow Road. No, vehicles will probably just pass the trucks. This will make the road even more dangerous. I have a video of a motorcycle passing me while I was driving north past the batch plant. Circle T says that deliveries are time sensitive. I have followed the Circle T vehicles down 690 to get off at Baldwinsville with their barrels turning, so they had something in it. And they continued west. That's at least 30-minute drive, so the extra 2 miles that Circle T has to travel by not going north on Darrow Road shouldn't affect their product. Mr. Simmons said they have learned a lot since they got into this. The neighbors have also learned a lot since this batch plant came into their quiet neighborhood. Many of the promises of oversight of the town, the DEC, or even Circle T itself have not come to fruition. The neighbors just want to enjoy their lives without disruption coming from the industrial batch plant that has been allowed to operate in their neighborhood. And please attach this to me.
Thank you. All right, that is everyone who's on the, signed in. Public hearing. Yeah, do you want to say anything at this time? Alright.
Sure, thank you.
And Kevin, you're the only one here for.
I'm representing Circle T.
Okay.
Correct. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. We have fully submitted the application materials. They've been in the possession and under consideration by this board since June. There's been some supplemental information that came a little later in the process, but this is now going on nearly 6 months for a few requests, primarily related to a new silo, a second silo, and as Mr. Simmons, I believe, had explained, and I'm glad that some of the folks in the audience reflected his understanding and their understanding that this silo is for different material, not necessarily to increase the production volume as much as the variety of cement that this company uses for different jobs. So that's the fundamental need for the extra silo, which takes up virtually no additional space. It's wholly contained within the existing site. You know, no amount of facts will persuade opponents of this project that this is anything other than a bad idea. We understand that, but, you know, there's been reference made to the noise study. And this noise report could be 75 pages long, I'd submit, and I suspect people would still find a way to argue the outcome and oppose this. So we've complied with everything that this board has asked for. I don't know how many people opposed to the project have availed themselves of the invitation to visit the site. I hope that they have, and if you did, you got a chance to observe up close the operation and listen for yourself the impact, or I would submit the lack of impact on the environment as it relates to the operation of the facility. And we do believe that it is patently unfair to restrict the ability of Circle T to use Darrow Road. Every other truck is allowed to use the road. If there is going to be some type of a local delivery restriction, you know, we'll abide by that, but we don't believe it is appropriate to restrict Circle T from using its property in the manner that it proposes. We would submit that Circle T's been a very good neighbor. They just don't want to be restricted. And I think this final point I'm going to make is perhaps a bit sensitive, but I do want to put it on the record. This has gone through a legal proceeding once. I hope it doesn't have to go through another one, but I'm certainly prepared if it does. There is a belief, I believe personally, a mistaken belief, that the applicant must show a change in circumstance in order for a modification of the site plan to be considered. The town's own site plan regulations indicate nothing of that sort. In section 3.35, planning board review, subsection C, it says any owner wishing to make changes in an approved site plan shall submit a revised site plan for planning board review and approval, which we have done. We have certainly offered reasons for the change in circumstance, but want to be clear that your own law does not, you will not find the words change of circumstance in your law. Finally, and again, I've reiterated this in the past, and with all due respect, because I certainly represent towns in the same position, but the town of New Haven does not have zoning. There's this frankly fallacy that a neighborhood district has an industrial use in it. Well, there are no neighborhood districts, there are no commercial districts, there are no industrial districts, because you do not have zoning there. There might be populations that have grown and growth pockets that are more residential or more commercial or more industrial or more seasonal or more agricultural. But the bottom line is the town does not have zoning. And this use was approved. We're simply asking for modifications to the approved use in accordance with this information you've submitted. Thank you.
Any closes here? So we make a motion, please?
I make a motion that we close the public hearing for Circle T Enterprises.
I'll second it.
Karen Valentino, Mike Petulli,
Yes.
Melissa Mundy. Alan Chase.
Yes.
So, looking at, old business that we want to talk about, and this is a special meeting where we're not, talking about other applications and things. So we do wanna continue, discussing, Circle T, this application, and, we are at the point. I believe we have, we have a basis of consideration that we've developed, yes. And we can just discuss, find out what we wanna do, how we wanna proceed, with the various, so there's, Rebecca, if there's any guidance that you wanna provide, that would be,
I'm looking at the site plan.
okay,
Section.
that sounds good, I can hang out.
Design of what they have as a vision.
Alright, so that is a valid point that we are not seeing, I mean, looking at the law, 3.35, it does not say that there is a change in circumstance needed for, any owner wishing to make changes in the approval, approved site plan shall submit a revised site plan, to the planning board for review and approval. So we can, we're reviewing, that's what we're doing right now, alright? Do we want to look at the three things as far as, the requests, that are for the silo to be placed? And talk about that, if anybody wants to share their thoughts about the planned second silo?
Yeah. I think the silo, okay, that the location is gonna be is well within circumstances. It's not gonna affect anything. And it's gonna, not that it's gonna increase his business, but it's gonna help him to run his business more efficient.
It seemed like that'd be the one piece that is relatively benign. It doesn't expand the footprint, it doesn't expand the amount of noise, it doesn't,
Correct.
yeah, from my perspective, that one seems pretty straightforward.
I completely agree with what you've said, and it seems straightforward to me that this is a very small change to the overall plant and does benefit the business and does not impact other people. So I feel very fine with approving that aspect, if we wanna go down and do that. Melissa, anything?
Can we do that piece at a time?
I don't know if we have to just make the decision with each thing, or,
Discuss all of it, and then you can make a decision if you wanna go through.
Yeah.
All the things that they've asked for. Because that new silo would create any new noise.
Yep. Agreed. is similar to the other silo.
Excuse me, Karen, can we speak?
No,
Good.
no, please, we just had a public hearing. Alright, so let's go and look at, where's my material? Here it is. There's our application. Alright, so, we wanna talk about the hours? And we're gonna talk about the hours, we're gonna talk about the travel, are our three main things. And I don't think there were others, that's the question, it's just silo, the hours, and the direction of driving, the trucks.
Have you got, can you refresh us on what the hours are and what they
Sure.
are?
Yeah, it's right here. So their current hours of operation as agreed to by the conditions are, and it's in exhibit one that was shared, if you're looking at the paperwork, on page 204. So they have different sets of hours, where April through October, where there's more sun, and people are out doing things, they're operating Monday through Friday from 6 to 6, and then Saturday, from 6 to 2 p.m. and closed on Sunday. Their hours change, from November to March, so right now, starting an hour later, 7 a.m., and, they're closing at 4 p.m. with, Saturday hours from 7 to 1, so an hour, less on each end with that. Did you get that on?
Mhm.
Alright, and so the new hours that they want, and they've requested was, I believe 5 in the morning till 9 at night on Monday through Friday, April through October. Saturday, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., closed on Sundays. And I'm not sure if there was a shift during the winter or just the same all year round.
Yeah, I think it was the same.
It's the same year all round, yes, that's the request. Year round. So,
Was it 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Saturdays, no batching after 5? Kevin, or was that?
5 a.m. to 9 p.m. during the week with no batching to occur after 6 p.m.
Okay,
5 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays,
okay.
and continue to be closed on Sunday. That's what the application requests.
alright, so, and we mentioned, during our last meeting in talking with Jason Simmons that, these hours seem a bit extreme, changed, and he did imply that, not wanting to, avoid those complaints that are coming because it is not open, and there's noises coming from the plant, so he's starting his trucks before 6 in the morning, and making noise with that. And, my impression from Mr. Teresi was that, at times they also went later than the current 6 o'clock at night, when there was, I could be, not completely accurate, but when there were issues, and that they had to finish a batch because there were problems, or they ran out, or I don't know what kind of things people might happen, that would be the instance, of going later.
I think there was also discussion that if they did a run in Syracuse, that they did a run and they came back.
And then had to wash out the trucks, right, that there was some, times that would be, an instance, that they would have to be later. Any thoughts on the hours?
The thing that occurs to me is, it seems like there's a couple of different definitions of what is operating. The public feels that if they can hear noise coming from the site, then the site is operational. The owners feel that if the batch plant is not running, everything else is just incidental that's not related to the operation. So the truck starting in the morning, getting in position, all of that kind of stuff, the owner is considering that not operating. The neighbors are considering it operating because they can hear it. I don't know that we can define that real well, because how do you tell somebody they can't start their vehicle, or they can't this or that? So I don't know that we wanna get involved in defining what, you know, if a pickup truck pulls in there at 5 to 6, are they operating before 6? Right? I don't know. And I don't know that this is what the applicant wants, but just as if in fact this was being proposed to try to eliminate some of the complaints, if the restriction that the batch plant can't run until 6, but the operations can start at 5, that would allow them to get vehicles in position and the things that they currently are not considering operating. And it would better define it to acknowledge that. And then the 9 PM, I can see, if you send a truck to Syracuse with a load of cement at 5 in the afternoon, it's not coming back till 9 o'clock at night. So that truck pulling in the yard and parking, is that considered operating, or is that considered just the incidental of returning from a job site? See, we end up with this thing of the public and the neighbor's gonna argue that they're operating, and the owner's gonna argue that no, we were just coming back from a job and parking, and that's incidental to our business. So they're kind of offering it by saying that we're not gonna batch after 6 PM, but you might hear activity until 9, which I suspect they're implying vehicles returning and things of that nature. So if we were to define the batch plant running as the operation, I don't know if we can do that, but, you know, if you were to say that, you know, if you're, I don't know, and maybe they don't want that, maybe they wanna be batching at 5 AM. That's getting awful early, but that's the kind of business this is. I mean, you order concrete to be delivered at 6 AM, not at, you know, so, but now the neighbors have gotta listen to the batch plant turning at 5 AM, which means the trucks should be started at 4:30. Right?
Yep.
And then we're gonna be in here arguing about, is
What's
the
the noise
plant
that you're hearing?
operating at 4:30, or is the plant operating at 5 AM?
Or, you know, policing, you've also gotta look at how are you gonna police yes, that noise was just over the truck, there's I think the plant's fine. Then I
Yeah.
think
I don't know if it would meet the owner's request, but I could see a position that I would support to say the operations can start at 5, but the batch plant doesn't start until 6. And that covers all of the, get it wherever warmed up, brushed off, get the snow off it, whatever you wanna do, from 5 to 6, but the batch plant doesn't start turning until 6. That should police that there's no noise prior to 5, and if the batch plant ends at 6, then all noise should be done by 9. That kind of amends what they're asking for, but really it just kind of, it sounds like what they're doing now. I'm sure the batch plant's starting at 6 AM, but they want a cement truck setting under it, ready to start putting concrete in it at 6, and they're calling that not operating, which,
Mike, you had brought up the point that even if it's warming a truck up, they're not warming it up and doing those things for an hour. Now, in the winter, they are going to be moving snow just like anybody else who wants to get out of their driveway. And I don't look at that as operating anything, you're just moving snow. But as far as warming up a vehicle,
DOT.
well, there's a lot more, yeah, but I mean, I'm not suggesting that it takes them an hour.
No.
but I'm concerned.
But there's a lot more to it than
you
just starting the
give till
vehicle and then
5,
warm up for 10
and
minutes.
that they will go 4:45, and I don't, do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do,
That's where
yeah,
I'm a
I
little
do.
worried, so if.
And I don't know what the main source of noise is. I suspect the batch plant must be pretty loud, and that's an industrial type of thing that's happening, so if, you know,
And.
if you define
if
that
no-
definitively, it's either on or it's off. If it's on at 5:30, then you're running outside your hours, right? But the other stuff, it just you get into this weird, the employee came in early and
Well, and no batching after 6, but that, the closing, the end time has been 6, so I'm gonna make a guess that there's no batching well before 6 right now. So because you need to be done by 6, so you're not gonna even go, so we say, oh yes, you can go batch till 6, as is proposed, then that means, what do you know, I'm out and making my last batch at 6, so this dramatically changes if we don't have any demonstrated indication that there's an increase in volume, demand, as far as there was more variety, that we have the second silo. So to justify saying, oh, now you can batch all the way up to 6, I'm not comfortable with that at all. Because again, currently, if they're shutting down and their hours are shut down at 6, it's one thing to say I got a last minute batch to put in versus, okay, hey, start her up, we're starting fresh at 6 o'clock, that you're
Well,
taking off.
I would suspect that if they're defining operating as running the batch plant, if I'm owning the place and I'm trying to maximize the use of it, then by 5:59, I need to be putting the last amount of concrete into a truck and watching it drive out onto the highway, cause it's gonna be 3 hours from that point in time before I see it again, right?
Right.
So it's that ending operation.
Well,
Maybe it's a
Jason
change
did
in wording.
say, Jason did say that the earlier was his preference, if there was a flexibility with time, an earlier hour accommodated the business better than the later.
9 o'clock seems late.
It does, to me, and especially as he's looking for all year. So, even if we were to take the current spring and summer hours of 6 to 6 and say that that's all year, that's a 2-hour difference, on the evening during the winter months, as well as a 1-hour, difference, again, in the morning. So that's a 3-hour difference just to say it's the same time throughout the year, rather than having this split schedule. And I did take a look at Urselli Northern. The hours in North Syracuse are longer, than the hours, in the Fulton. And again, I have to say, I looked at their site, it wasn't clear, but just pulling it up off of Google, like, we are open now, so this may not be completely accurate. But it said Monday through Friday, 7 in the morning till 6 p.m. And that's, Saturday, 7 to 12, and Sunday they're closed. And that's in North Syracuse, and they certainly have been around for a very long time.
Right. For clarity, and I'm not arguing this, it's gonna sound like I'm arguing for Circle T.
No, that's fine, we can
You
discuss it.
you can routinely order concrete to be delivered to your place at 7 a.m.
Okay.
And you're saying that their hours say they don't open until 7 a.m. Well, that means somebody's not there answering the phone to take orders.
I see what you're saying.
But you might have a cement truck pull in at 7, so the batch plant didn't turn on at 7
Okay, that's a good point.
to have a
That's a
delivery
good
at
point, and
7.
that may be just when
So
their
my guess is their
office
batch plant
hours are,
Right.
the office, okay,
Yeah.
yep, that's a valid point.
And I don't know what their hours are, but I know
Nor
that
do I.
I've routinely gotten concrete at 7 in the morning,
Okay,
so.
alright, so that makes sense, that would be there. If we're gonna give some leniency, on hours, I would tend to be more in the morning, as that was Jason's, where he said it would help him, and I'm thinking it's more 6 to 5, just sounds too early to me. I don't know, anybody else? Am I just,
Well, I think operating the batch plant, okay, 6 in the morning, we're doing that now anyway, except for November through the winter months.
It's not concrete season.
Right. I mean, it's cold, are they actually sending out concrete at 6 in the morning, or this time of year, 7 in the morning?
right,
Are they really sending it out? I don't know.
right,
As far as the leeway for
starting.
other noise,
Yeah.
operational noise, and not the batch plant, I think 5 is a little early. Well, I think within a half hour's time, they should be up and running, should be ready to run. Doesn't take that long to fill it full of stone and aggregate with a payloader. Doesn't take an hour to do that.
Sounds like you were saying you'd entertain a 5:30 operations start with a batch plan at 6. Is
Yes,
that kind of what you're saying? Which sounds like it just mirrors what really is happening. They're calling it a non-operation because they're not running the batch plant. To me, that seems like what's happening. And maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, I don't know.
Like you said, I can push them to 5.
Well, there's the distinction there, that,
Well-
is that we're saying,
I mean, they're,
Like he was
They're-
saying earlier, if you give him that 5:30 or whatever, is that gonna make him think, oh, well, 15 minutes before that?
but we're still saying batch plan itself is at 6.
they're defining the operation as when the batch plant turns on.
Right,
So
that's-
they're saying, we're not starting until 6, but they're moving around before that, so the complaints are coming in and saying, no, they're starting earlier than that.
Mhm.
So we're saying, well, okay, we'll give you that half hour, get in position, batch plant turns on at 6, so we're effectively not changing what they're doing at all.
no,
We're just saying we're acknowledging, we're kind of taking a stance on what starting operation is defined as,
I mean,
in essence.
How long does it, I don't know, maybe Kevin knows this, Ron might know this, how long does it take to get a batch ready? To put it in the truck to take out? Like how much of a difference does it
I
make?
don't know. I'd imagine they could probably load a truck in 10 minutes, 15 at the most.
I would suspect there's a startup procedure,
Yeah.
especially in cold weather, that
Right, they had to do
I
something
have no
with
idea how long it takes, but.
heat
they
of
can-
water or something I heard last time.
Yeah, if we just simply say your operation can start at 5, then there's gonna be trouble in there.
mhm.
And they're gonna
I think
argue
so.
that that's not an operation, right?
I think, to me, yes, so as far as starting our, the batch plant at 6, I mean, and again, giving them the leeway to say there are things that you have to get into motion and move, especially starting a truck or something like that. Oh, and as far as the, does it make sense to continue to keep it separated April through October, November through March? Or do we just say, I mean, if they don't start it earlier, that's fine, but if they're requesting longer hours throughout the year, but if we say, just keep those April through October hours throughout the year. The 6 to 6, 6 to 2, and it's just, again, it's less than what they were asking, which is 5 to 9, 5, I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Instead of 5 to 5. So it expands it, but it may not be during the busy time, so I mean, again, I don't know how many orders they get in winter, what's that?
I'm trying to figure.
I think winter's
Increase.
relatively police itself, cause there's just a fraction
Sure.
of that was going on.
Yeah.
The whole operations are lesser.
So what are your feelings on the November part? Would you keep it at 6 to 6, same hours during the summer?
In
I
my
mean,
mind,
weather's
yeah,
gonna,
in
weather's
my
gonna
mind,
tell you
just
whether you're gonna
establish, you know,
send it
what's
out or
the-
not.
What's the earliest we're comfortable with, and what's the latest we're comfortable with? And the winter's gonna police itself in that there just isn't that much concrete going out in the winter. You know, it costs more, you gotta put stuff in to keep it from freezing, it's just not, that's not construction season, right? But I still think that we really ought to try to address the difference in the complaints. You know, our building inspector is getting complaints about noise at 5:45,
You know,
and then there's this argument of whether it's plant-related noise or not plant-related noise.
okay, so let's try and put that into some,
Yeah.
You're probably gonna
If that's what you want,
if you even
if
have,
that's what you feel is okay.
Well, I was under the assumption that 6 was the start time to run the batch plant. Anything before that, starting the truck, payloader, backing up,
We've heard a lot of examples of people bringing a complaint saying, at 5:45, I'm hearing backup alarms, right? So, in some people's minds, in many people's minds, they think that the operation is running. And I don't know, This is a gray one, where what's the start of the operation? If I hear tailgate slamming, it seems like they're operating, right? But
I know of another,
Correct, that's.
another business, okay, that had the same problem. And what they had to do as far as the backup beepers was they had to lower the volume of them to the specs that still qualified for backup beepers,
right,
but they lowered the volume on them.
that's a great idea until somebody gets backed over.
Well, you can
Right?
still hear it, you still hear it on the plant, but it's gonna be,
Right.
you know, I mean, you know what a beeper sounds like,
Oh, yeah, it can be
you know,
obnoxious.
and
But what safety issue, obviously, the batch
OSHA.
plant isn't operating,
right,
then that's fine, but if the plant's operating and you've lowered that volume,
it's still within specs of OSHA, what
okay,
they want.
okay.
Is that hard to do?
I don't think it was hard to do.
Yeah, there's adjustments, it's expensive to, well, it's expensive, $200 a truck.
Okay.
You could change them, but it's, you know, I don't know,
I
as a
don't-
business owner,
I don't even
that
know,
scares the heck out of me.
I don't even
We're
know-
gonna
I
take
don't
safety
even know if
device and
it's-
make it less effective.
I don't even know if it's the trucks that are making that much noise, backing up. I think it's more payloader that's making the noise, where they're loading the aggregate.
Oh, yeah, that's.
That's the one that's,
So.
I think makes a lot more noise.
Loading aggregate sounds very,
Operation.
that sounds like it's associated with the batch plant, honestly. Aggregate, how stone going into a metal chute,
Yeah.
that's gonna be more.
Where that really, in all actuality, they could do that at night before they close and load that all up, ready to go in the morning.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. But the payloader, I would think that aggregate and anything associated with it is like, is the operational running the batch plant, honestly. So those two would be a 6 p.m. Type of thing. Don't
Well-
everyone agrees?
Are you gonna use the payloader to clean the snow? Right?
Payload's gonna run all night cleaning the parking lot this time of year. It's the same payload. It's a slippery slope. I mean, you get into this, and you try defining this thing down, and it's,
Oh, I don't know.
if I'm the business owner, I'm gonna argue it in that direction, and if I'm the neighbor, I'm gonna argue it in that direction, and I don't know how I mean, he'll be out there every day trying to police, oh no, they were plowing snow, so it was okay. Nope, they picked up a scoop of stone, that's a violation. You know, and then there's 100 different examples that we're not even thinking of in the summer that they were carrying topsoil out to the garden that the grandmother planted out back.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't, we didn't put that cement in the hopper, we.
Sure, I was just using your
just-
stuff.
Right.
Um,
I don't know, I just,
okay, so for practical reasons, because,
if we're not comfortable with going to 5, I would support a batch plant starts no earlier than 6, and, the operation of the facility starts at 5:30. So, you know, and that kind of better defines, it kind of takes the argument away from the owner to say, well, no, our operation wasn't started because the batch plant wasn't done, right? You're still gonna have the snow plow, you're gonna be plowing snow at 4 in the morning, you're gonna get a complaint on that, you just have to deal with it. But at least it gives them the, you know, in the owner's mind, he feels like he has the right to be moving around prior to 6, and he's getting complaints on it. And the way it's written right now, operation starting at 6, anybody that hears a backup alarm thinks that they're in violation. So to me, that doesn't really give them anything other than it just acknowledges that what they're doing now is acceptable.
Definition, we changed the definition a little bit.
Yeah. What they're doing now is acceptable, it doesn't give them any more operating hours,
right,
other than in the winter, which I don't think they really need anyway.
right.
Yeah, and there's no definition in here. of operating, because you've taken the position that operation means any use of that facility at all, from 6 AM to 6 PM, whether it's the guy coming and turning on the light or the truck. There's no distinction currently, it's 6 AM to
Yeah.
6 PM.
Well, they're
operation
saying,
period.
right, but
Any use of the facility is
is
Oh,
what it
there's,
is
there's
now.
no language now that says that they'll stop batching after a certain time, is there? They can batch right till the
No,
website.
it's just hours of operation,
Just hours of
6 AM to
operation.
6 PM,
Right.
and then
So when
not
they're
permitted to
proposed, they're
operate.
saying that no batching after 6, so that's where I came up with we're defining the operation as from the time the batch plant starts and
Operate,
ends.
and then throughout here, it's just reference to operating the batch plant, but no distinction between, or definition of what that actually means.
Alright, so if we say operating the batch plant includes, loading aggregate, is that too specific?
I don't know enough about what makes the noise.
What about the noise study?
Well, I can't understand when they're talking about tailgate slamming, I'm thinking it's more, the payloader
That's
doing
what I
something.
just said, there's not a lot of tailgates on cement trucks and
Yeah.
payloaders, so it's gotta be.
Well,
What-
everything
what
that
is-
goes out,
what is
that
that
cement
slam?
comes in a dump truck.
Yeah. You've got the
Right,
big
so all the
dump trucks.
stone, gravel, all that material is coming in a dump truck, so it could be tailgate slamming.
Gotcha.
So, you know, it's a delivery of gravel.
Came in at 5:45 in the morning. I think it's payloader stuff.
Could be, yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah, it looks like he's, says 10 mixer trucks,
You
one
been there?
service truck, one flatbed. 10
I
mixer trucks,
haven't
one
officially
service truck,
taken a
and
tour,
one
but-
flatbed truck.
I've snooped around.
10 mixer trucks, what is it?
Jason said they've got 10 mixer trucks, one service truck, and one flatbed truck.
Right.
So the mixer truck maybe would be one of those smaller.
It could well be, I don't know if they would be delivering. Would
That's
Lindsay's
right.
be delivering aggregate,
Early.
aggregate dump trucks that early in the morning?
I don't think so.
It could be,
Depends on the order.
But it can be like you, expand the hours at night, not the bat, not using the plant. But they're cleaning out the trucks and stuff, they can preload their stone the night before, like you said. So they go a little bit at the end without running the plant.
I don't know that. I mean, we could do that, but
I don't know how much the people deliver. How much will be that?
this is a tough one, cause I suspect that Northern's batch plant, I'll bet you that thing is churning concrete out at 5 AM. But does that mean that that these guys should be entitled to do that? You know, I'm not suggesting that. but
Right.
But it's, you know, I can understand the need, I mean, if you want concrete sitting at your house at 7 AM, then the batch plant's gotta be turning a lot earlier than that. And I'm sure that the competitors are, but you know, these guys built this in a residential area, not us. But not a residential zone.
Correct, correct.
And
Alright,
that's the distinction.
for sure. But,
The batch plant run is a pretty definitive thing. It's either on or it's off. You know, you're not moving snow with it, you're not doing anything else. You're either making concrete or you're not making concrete, right? I mean, that's. Everything else becomes gummy because what's it for?
alright. Agree?
Your average operation, you just go with that 25 hour, you just kind of high.
Yeah, I mean, that ultimately, if you can't run the batch plant until 6, there's no reason to be there at 5 filling it. Cause it can't turn on until 6, right? That's, to me.
Other than getting your truck running.
Right,
Cause
but
if it has air brakes, you gotta bleed them all down, cause that takes time. I
if the
do an
lines are frozen,
inspection,
you gotta get a torch out, you
Yeah.
right, I just.
everybody has to do their own inspection of the vehicle. How much noise is it? It's air brakes, you gotta pump them down. It's just, yeah, it's not that, I mean, it's loud, but it's not loud, that loud where it's,
Is there any legal pieces here? I mean, what's the, does a business have the legal right to operate during certain hours, or if this were
No,
going
it's,
forward?
it's all the planning board, that's.
We have full authority to dictate
That's part of
what
the
the
site plan
operating hours
review.
are.
So that's why you got the hours of operation from before, but there wasn't any distinction between batch plant operation versus, I guess,
miscellaneous.
site, I don't know, site operation wouldn't be the right word, but,
Ancillary
job prep.
functions or
Yeah,
something like
I
that,
could
or?
word it. But I think, like you said, you run that slippery slope of what's ancillary to you versus what's ancillary to them, and it sounds like that may be the issue right now anyway.
That's, to me, that seems like that is, you know, I've heard two very distinct different things. That, you know, backup alarm before 6 o'clock means they're biased in violation, and their interpretation is the batch plant didn't turn on until 6:01, we were not in violation. I don't know which is right.
Just gotta find it, the hours.
And if we keep the, November through March, Monday through Friday hours, 7 to 4, then, similarly, it would be a 6:30 start. Is adequate, or did you want to switch the hours, so they're all the same? I don't think I was clear on, you wanna keep it, doesn't matter, you don't think?
I think keeping them all the same, just for the simple reason that they're not gonna be sending out concrete that early anyway,
Okay.
during the winter months.
Okay, so, I'm inclined to just say it would be easier to kind of have it the same, and I agree with you, I don't think, and if there's a preference for, it would give a little earlier in the winter months.
What was the reason before for having them separate?
I think it was just, they suggested it.
They weren't gonna give us long
If,
hours.
if I were them,
I think they suggested.
that would be an easy giveaway because we're not real busy in the winter,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'll give you
I-
some hours in the winter to hopefully be able to.
Over there,
operate.
Mike, wasn't that they were suggesting?
I know it'd be a reason,
Yeah,
but
it was-
that would be the,
I think it was just because of the
Practical.
temperature, the, you know, the, nature of the business during the winter months.
Right, right,
You really didn't need to start early.
okay.
Yes and no. I mean,
But again, it would.
change the time, at least we're all on the same page, we all have, you know, 6 to 6, whatever. And half hour start time before that, I mean, it's,
so
whether they use it or
who
not.
would support something like a batch plant operation of 6 AM to 6 PM, Monday through, well, the Saturday I think is different. Monday through Friday, batch plant operation of 6 AM to 6 PM. Ancillary work 30 minutes prior to batch plant startup and an hour and a half to 2 hours after batch plant shutdown. That gives them from 6 to, you know, they stop making concrete at 6, and they need, by our regs, they need to have all the truck home and parked by 8, or something to that effect. Is that a reasonable way of, and you call it ancillary? I don't know, I'm thinking of what's happening, and how do we best define it that is reasonable?
Again, going with what, Jason said, as far as really just needing it more in the morning, that I think that with too much leeway on the evening, then it's just deliberately choosing, instead of saying this batch is gonna be made the next day, because we're past a certain time, then it becomes, nope, I'm just scheduling it out because I have that ability.
He also said Weirly, he's got that truck that comes back late.
Correct.
Further away, so
This is
shit.
just-
I'm still gonna get that truck coming back after six.
Yeah.
And I think you said that was a rare occasion.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how many complaints are being generated by.
I'm feeling, I'm not comfortable with the last batch, no later, not after 6, only because that means, at 5:59, you've had you're doing a batch and you just set the clock to, now the truck's going to Syracuse, and I don't know, so I just think,
9, 10 o'clock.
just do it the next day. I mean, and I agree, I'm not trying to, it's what he has been doing up till now, so is working within that 6 o'clock constraint. And doesn't mean that there's no noise at all, and I almost feel fine to put a, let's have some operational leeway on both sides. As far as the plant, just saying that there still could be some noises, but that, batch plant, actual
Well, if you were to say
concrete.
6 to 6.
Yeah.
Okay, with a 2-hour leeway at night, okay, that would give a truck a chance to get back. Now, if it's going to Syracuse and it's gonna take 3 hours, he's gonna know that he has to send that out earlier.
Correct, and that's what he's currently doing, is
And
my
I
estimation.
think that's what you said, someone said that
Yes.
last time,
That
that.
gives him a chance to bring
that
the
if
trucks
you-
in.
If you
get
know
them
you're
washed
done at
out.
6,
Then
you
you
gotta
will
do that load in
schedule it
Syracuse at
sooner,
2.
exactly, and I think if we leave it at this, then it's just pushes it all later. And again, it's just making it work. Hopefully for everybody. So I like the half an hour start for ancillary preparations,
Activities or whatever, yep.
prep. And, without loading aggregate, should I put that in there, only cause it sounds so
I
loud.
think that needs to definitely be
Yeah.
defined and discussed.
Well, I mean,
With him, like what, so it's clear that this is what,
yeah, I mean, it's not, okay, push the button, if that becomes part of the operation of the batch plant, in my opinion, it's not just the mixing of it and putting it into the trucks, but it's loading that aggregate.
Loading aggregate into the batch plant or batch plant operation is limited to 6 to 6.
Okay,
With other ancillary functions allowed 30 minutes prior, is
Yeah.
that kind of what we're,
30 minutes prior, 2 hours
I
after.
think it's kind of-
I'd support 2 hours after, but
2 hours.
Karen's a little against
Well, I'm
that, so.
just, again, I understand it, and what I think what we currently have is, the situation is that he's already running into a few issues that he's had to fix, and let's go do this, or my truck is coming back and it's gotta be washed out. I completely agree, you're not gonna let it harden in the truck, but currently, I don't think he's been batching where he's sending out the truck for a delivery, he knows it's too late in the night.
Nobody wants to do that.
Okay, so it's good, so I think it's unusual, it's probably.
It's unusual.
An
Yeah,
unusual
it's
thing.
a-
So that's where I'm thinking that,
I think
giving,
the only time you'd see concrete going out would be during the summer months.
yeah,
And sometimes they do bridge work at night,
oh,
where they may have concrete running at night. But,
okay.
But that's, I mean, you're in a whole other,
yeah, whole nother ballgame there.
there's,
Well, he
there's
does wanna do
operations
the
that run 24 hours a
DOT,
day.
he does wanna do the DOT contracts, and that's
Do
the
an
reason
hour.
for the second silo, is to have the concrete or the court, whatever
But
so
based
that
on
he
our
can
knowledge, he's
do,
not gonna be,
but I can't anticipate,
Novellus, there's times that Novellus will pour concrete all night long.
okay,
And Northern's delivering it, so,
gotcha,
so
all
that
night
batch
long.
plant's running at 2 AM.
Lord, all
And
right.
that's just, I mean, that's not on the table here,
No, I don't.
so.
Okay. So what do you envision if you said, hours in the evening, how would that work? It's the same thing, it's the ancillary type of stuff?
Right, I think the truck coming back, gotta get washed out.
Sometimes they come back with a yard of concrete still on
Yeah.
it, you know, if they're pouring into a mold
Right, right.
or something that the customer doesn't have a place to waste it, so they just say take it back,
Gotcha.
so.
How much space is it?
I have no idea.
You were there, they're doing that,
Oh, they were?
they're farming those mills for those big blocks.
Then I'm gonna say not a lot of noise. Cause I didn't even notice,
It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't.
there is no obvious like.
Yeah, that's just rolling the stuff off, you know, the noise of the truck is the noise. for
Okay.
that case.
Alright,
And you don't have rocks tumbling, you know, as it's being mixed together and all that.
okay. Right,
But that's something you can't, you know, if you come back at 8 o'clock, whether the planning board said you can do it or not, you can't leave that concrete in there.
no, I
It's a barrel
completely
full of pipe,
agree,
so.
I completely agree. You're gonna lose your truck. Are we there?
Move on
I
that.
think me and Mike are pretty close to the same page, but
And quite honestly, I will admit you have more experience with doing this, the practical aspect of, concrete, and what's involved. So, I mean, again, operational hours then are we calling it operation plant?
It's pretty much staying the same, operation
Gotcha.
hours are still staying the same, we're just giving them that
6 to 6.
half hour
And
before,
Saturday, they're requesting, 5 AM to 5 PM. It is currently 6 to 2. Do we wanna say 6 to 2 still sounds good, or?
The other
Monday.
Saturday, people who attend the reduced hours on Saturday.
Yeah, and again, that honestly may be the office hours. I might, if I was calling and not saying.
absolutely is not that kind of person. But it would seem that way when you,
It
you know,
looks
if you look
close
at it, it says they're
enough.
working from this to this.
Yes, so, no, I think you're correct. So,
I would, on Saturday to me, I would say it's currently 6 to 2, we stay with the same 6, you're not gonna let them operate earlier on
Correct,
Saturday than
correct.
they can during the week.
correct,
But if they're asking for 5 to 5, then maybe on Saturday it's 6 to 5. With the same ancillary, you know, shortens their, it gives them a little bit of what they're asking for to operate a little longer on Saturday, but it's not going outside of what's operational any other day. You know, to your point, Jason's thing was that he wanted to operate earlier, cause I'm sure he's got, if I call for concrete, I want it here at 7 AM.
right.
And if you're not turning the plant on until 6 and I'm an hour and a half away,
Mm-hmm,
there's no way you can meet my needs, I'm calling for supper,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Saturday, are you thinking?
I
Are you
think,
thinking?
I think 6 in the morning till 5 is plenty. Nobody, on Saturday, nobody wants to be, you know, finishing concrete at 9 o'clock at night. Cause it's gonna take a couple hours to set up. And you
I
gotta finish
suspect
it
if
all.
Jason was here, he'd say that the most important thing to him is to make that 6 earlier. None of the rest of this matters.
Mm-hmm.
And
And we're really
we're not making it any earlier,
No.
we're just
We're
hopefully.
kinda helping people in the neighborhood by saying, now we're gonna define it, give them a half hour to start their trucks, do whatever they do.
Some of the complaints that might be right on the edge that we have to argue about, we should make those go away. But the operation of the facility should be the same as it is now as far as starting time, is in my mind.
So then, and the key is going to be to define what ancillary, what that entails. So it's very clear that, you know.
We'll never define the whole.
Well, it's
Right.
kinda,
That's the thing,
it's
like,
kinda hard
it's-
because we really don't have Simmons here to say, this is what we've been doing. Other than the last time he says, well, we, starting
I
our
wrote
trucks.
down that he was.
I don't know, defining what
warming-
ancillary is, defining what ancillary is not. Ancillary is not running the batch plant.
Right.
Cause I
Right.
think,
that's the easiest way.
he wanted to, he said start earlier because of the demand, and then he needed to warm the trucks up, get them ready.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if people are hearing, well, we can't figure out what the backup
it could
or
be,
tailgates, so.
yeah, we don't know what the
Tailgates.
tailgate problem is that
Right.
early in the morning, but as far as, the beepers on the truck, I don't think the beepers on the truck are as loud as the beepers on a payloader. Payloaders are really loud,
So that's probably.
cause a lot of times.
Millions of dollars have been spent to determine how loud they should be.
Oh, yeah, but as long as you keep it within OSHA regulations. Some of them are so loud that it scares you. That's
I
basically
agree,
what they wanna do.
that they are designed to be ear piercing and travel a long distance. So that is
For a reason.
for a reason, and in this case, it's a permanent reason. You know, I mean, it's a good reason why they're designed, but
Safety.
everybody's gotta listen to it.
So we need for us to just approve that usage for this time.
I mean, the batch plan is truly an on and off, it's either running or it's not. And then in addition to that, if you wanna say the loading of aggregate into it
As part of,
is considered operation, and then everything else is ancillary. And all the ancillary stuff doesn't matter until you turn the batch plan on, so you're not gonna do it at 3 in the morning, if you can't turn the batch plan on until 6. Right, but
And that means no deliveries from, what you said, the aggregate, like,
Lindsay's, I'm pretty sure, I
Lindsay's.
think you said that was stuff from Lindsay's.
that
But
would-
Lindsay's could have their own, as far as I know, they could have a gravel pit over in that area where they're loading it directly from there and bringing
I
it.
do,
Whether they're coming early or not, I,
Palermo, Bacon Road.
yeah.
Is that what-
And I don't know, I know the gravel pits were in it early.
Yeah.
5 AM, the lights are on. I don't know, I think it's gonna be tough to try to define everything,
Right.
you know.
I
To
think
me,
you're
the
better
batch
off,
plant's a
like you
pretty
said,
definitive thing. Batch
define
plant's
what it
on
is.
or loading aggregate into the batch plant. Other than that, there's gonna be some example that somebody's gonna say, I think that's operating, and the owner's gonna say, no, it's not.
Deliveries should be considered, and my recommendation, I should decide. You know, deliveries of that would, in my mind, that's operational, and that's the traffic, that's the noise.
If I order, well, okay, I'll move it.
That's just that's my recommendation, my suggestion, but I would think, because that's where you're hearing probably
Tailgate.
tailgating from those things that guy driving to work. Back of your truck. That would be probably.
So what we're gonna put in there is no deliveries till 6 AM. So that means that,
Part of, right,
Deliveries only
so I guess
between
we're,
6 AM and,
you know,
Deliveries.
batch plant operation is defined as the batch plant running, the loading of aggregate into the batch plant, or deliveries of aggregate to facility.
yes,
Those are the 3 defining definitions
are you
that,
reading my paper?
I talked to you, so I'm just gonna shut up for a little bit.
No, you're good.
Please don't.
I'm just like.
This is very helpful. Alright, yeah, I'm comfortable with those, putting that in there. I think that those are limitations in this 5:30 to 6 window. That they cannot, they're prohibited,
6 to 6.
but that's, was the 5:30 to 6, right? They're
Right,
permissible
right,
within
right,
6,
yes, yes, yes.
permissible within 6 to 6.
Yes.
so that may stop the tailgate slamming, you know, if they're hearing it before 6. If we say, oh, it's,
Except for this morning, they had to dump the snow out of the box before they can go get the aggregate.
Yeah.
Is that a delivery?
The removal's got its own
Right.
own special
That's the-
place
it
of
doesn't matter
honor
what we do.
in our world.
And that's, you know, if you decide that, they're hearing tailgates, then that's, you know,
Was it
that's a
delivery or
call.
was it dumping snow out of the box or? Right, it's,
Well, I mean, there's still.
This time of year, a truck comes back with frozen stuff in the box, the guy's gotta get into it with a pickaxe and break it all loose and then dump it out on the ground before he loads again. You know, there's 1,000 different examples of.
Right.
I think we just gotta kind of try to pick a line and say,
Okay.
the most noise is gonna be from the batch plant and the loading of aggregate in it. I think, I've never seen this thing, I've never stood next to it, maybe it's quiet as a mouse, but I suspect not.
Not as a mouse.
No.
It's not hiding from the
Maybe a
raccoon.
water raccoon.
I stood down in the driveway, I didn't really,
No, it's not till you're really up close,
Yeah.
right next to things.
Well, and the other thing is, even if it's not the loudest thing, limiting the batch plant running at 6 AM is going to limit the ancillary activities, cause if you can't run the plant,
right,
nothing else matters.
no sense in thinking, can't start the truck at 5 o'clock.
Why would you,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
would you
yeah,
run
yeah.
gas if you
Well,
can't?
anyway, sitting there,
Right,
doing that.
so.
Now, looking at the noise study, it looks like the three loudest things are the concrete mixing truck running and loading, the backhoe actively filling the hopper, and the concrete mixing truck. Engine.
Right, you can't load the concrete truck until the batch plant is made of concrete, so.
Although, I don't know who's just the truck one, the backhoe would be included, right, with,
Loading the aggregate into,
Yeah.
right, so it's not including plowing the snow out of the driveway or.
yeah, I think, yeah,
I don't
that's
think
hard to
we can
define
limit
though,
it.
because I mean, I could have someone coming to my house with equipment clear my driveway, no one saying that they can't, and not having a noise ordinance in place, it's hard to say.
Something the town's working on this time.
Right, right.
And am I just being paranoid about the, giving time in the evening for wrapping things up and ancillary things? Will that just turn into, again, my instincts is that it will just become, taking advantage of that opportunity. But in the summertime, lots of prepping, moving, we would be saying no loading. I guess that as long as we're saying those are included, they can only take place between 6 and 6, maybe that does limit the noise. That's
Well, what I'm saying is, that if he knows that truck's gonna go to Syracuse
Mhm.
at 6 o'clock at night, and it's not gonna get back by 8 o'clock, then he shouldn't be sending it out.
That's correct, that's my
Okay.
feelings.
So I say, give them the 2 hours,
Okay,
because if they load at 6 and they have to go to Oswego,
yeah,
okay? Oswego and back, clean out the truck, you shouldn't have a problem doing it in 2 hours. It's going to Syracuse and back.
Well, you guys said most of the time you're gonna be delivering earlier anyway, so.
Yes,
And how often are they gonna be sending out the truck? Okay, that's SPM, thanks.
right.
I think I asked him how many loads per day, but I didn't. Cause he said 2 to 3 loads per day.
Yeah,
The
You're
mixer
running,
trucks,
you're running 10
10
trucks and you're running
2 to 3
two,
loads
at least
per
2
day.
loads a day for each truck during the summer.
Were you drafting kind of a thing on that?
I was looking at my questions,
Yeah,
the
you drafted
information
kind of
he gave us.
language of how that would read.
mine is bulleted, so I assume no, it doesn't have language that is usable at this point. But, looking at the hours from 6 AM to 6 PM, well, you're gonna be able to summarize this better. Half an hour of start time, beforehand for ancillary, preparations. So starting at 5:30 in the morning, and this is again Monday through Friday. And then, prohibited, activities before the 6 to 6 window. no loading, aggregate or other stone, cement, concrete, or the, cement. No running the batch plant itself, and,
No
deliveries.
delivers.
Yeah.
Is that, will go on Hanover?
Should be.
Obviously, well, they
It's
wouldn't.
not a delivery,
Yeah,
it's something.
if they're not gonna run and then they can deliver anyway, so.
And then, trying to see how we worded in the evening, so 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock, or 2 hours, for the, what are we saying, the other one was, start time preparations, it is,
I would call them both just ancillary operations. And then just don't define what ancillary operations are, but define what they are
Yeah.
not.
Right, during 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., that's the only time that you can do,
The three specific functions.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Other ancillary operations can be conducted 30 minutes prior and 2 hours post batch plant operation. That's the simplest definition, right?
Yeah, I don't know if the, I'm pretty sure the cement mixer's probably running when they're cleaning it with water. I'm sure it's
rotating to get.
rotating to get,
Yeah.
to get the cement out of there, I mean, cement and stuff.
Yes.
Employees.
No, not really.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much noise.
Once the cement's mixed, it doesn't make a lot of noise. It's when the rocks are banging around without the cement lid then is a big noise generator. Yeah.
Could we do, when we say like ancillary operations, like include but not limited to truck running, truck washout, you know, just specific things that may be part of the complaints? Do you guys wanna,
It's not a bad suggestion.
Yeah. So it's clear that there's no,
yeah, so it's specific to them, like you cannot do this.
right, you can't load trucks.
Right.
Um,
Obviously, like snow cleanup and, you know, employees coming or going or whatever, that's stuff that you really can't control anyway, so.
And that's not the noise or the traffic that you're looking to, you guided into,
Yeah, I think the three things that we listed
those are the,
is
those
a
are the.
definition of running the batch plant.
Now this, what about the heater?
I asked if there was any, if they could, when they put up their enclosure, if that was going to, be enclosed to minimize the noise or to decrease the noise, and he said, no, that it's too many fumes, you can't do
Well,
that.
yeah, it was like the exhaust or something, so
Exhaust,
I
yeah.
think you can say that part of it would be in the enclosure, but not all of it because of the exhaust.
Is that what it was? Okay, I hope so.
Possibly, I don't, someone else knows different, obviously, say.
Because, I mean,
But the heater, that's gotta be running to prevent
yes,
freezing.
sure, so it is a vital part of
And
the
that is
operation.
24/7 in the winter time, correct?
That would be my guess.
Yes.
Wonder if that's kind of some kind of, diesel heater, what do you think? I mean, he's not here to answer that question.
I would suspect it's a propane.
Or you know?
I don't know the heating source, but obviously it needs ventilation.
Right, right.
I'm just trying to think of anything.
Ronnie, you seen the heater in operation?
Right,
I've heard it, yeah.
It's
It
just,
it buzzes, it makes a humming noise.
okay,
I'm not exactly how it works, what it operates off of, but it does hum. When you build a 3-sided enclosure, it was spray foamed to try to minimize that sound.
okay.
He did come to my office with a full set of stamped engineering drawings for the enclosure.
okay.
Does the heater constantly run or is it like on and off?
Cycles.
Okay,
Okay.
The colder it's out, the
Right,
warmer
right.
I receive more.
so it's just like a furnace in your house, it's gonna be
Exactly.
hot enough.
Yeah.
I see. I think, didn't they have to install the heater because they had a problem with it freezing, so yeah, it wasn't even part of the original condition.
And it's, keeping water from freezing?
Yes.
Okay.
Cause he tried to keep it at a minimum last year and it cost him $1,000. It froze up. But this enclosure they're putting around, it should help it.
Yeah.
I talked to the operation manager and he said he has to enclose it, whether it's forced or not, to operate efficiently and not have no damage, it has to be enclosed.
Is it the actual water pipes coming up that were freezing?
The tank, there's a water
Oh, the
tank,
tank.
there's water pipes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 'cause I gotta heat the water for the winter months, for the winter concrete.
Okay.
And closure's gonna help with sound and temperature.
Yes, I would think so. Alright. Thank you. Alright. Are we ready to discuss, driving, or do you want to discuss hours?
I think we've come to conclusion on the hours.
Okay.
I'd like to move on to,
Just one question before we move on.
No problem.
So, obviously, I think you guys should declare the hours 6 AM to 6 PM, Monday through Friday. Saturday, I wasn't sure, you said 6 to 5. Would the 5 be like 5 PM,
With the
With-
same 2-hour
the
insult.
batching plus 2 hours going to 7 PM, or is the 5 PM including that 2 hours?
So right now it's,
It's
And
six,
again,
six
I was
to 2 right
proposing
now.
batch plant, that, and depending on how we write this, we're either gonna write it, I assume, we're either gonna write it as, assuming this is the direction we go when it passes. We're gonna either write it as the operation is authorized to run 5:30 AM to 8 PM with a restriction of the batch plant and the other 2 things that can run beyond whatever hours. Or we're going to define it as the plant can run from 6 AM until 6 PM with ancillary functions that can occur outside those hours.
I think
I'm more
that way
comfortable with
sounds
that.
better,
yes.
like
Like that
defining
way,
it as
yeah.
operation
I prefer
and
that.
what it includes,
alright,
and then 30 minutes prior, 2 hours after for the ancillary operations. I think that makes, I think it makes more sense.
I was just going by what they were asking for. We didn't give them what they wanted in the morning. They were asking to run till 5 PM.
Yeah.
That's sooner than what they do Monday through Friday. I don't know if it makes any difference. I don't have any
Yeah, so-
strong feelings either way.
yeah,
That's an expansion.
It's a little shorter
It is
than
an expansion.
the rest of the week.
Mhm.
That's a significant.
It is, cause Saturdays, again, you know,
For traffic.
I don't know if there's more traffic on Saturday either, but it's just, I guess I kinda liked it fewer hours, but I'm not sure I can justify my mind completely.
More traffic on the roads and some.
Yeah, and there's more people out on a Saturday.
Right, and people are having graduation.
So, I mean, I would wanna give them like an hour, go to 3:00, 6 to 3, gives you an extra hour. But, it's not as late as 5 is the whole day,
Yeah.
so it just seemed a little too wide of an increase.
Is it for plant running?
Yeah, this is for the plant
Rather
running,
than would be 2 hours.
and then it is an hour in the morning, actually, it's already an hour in the morning, it's already 6. So I think it's a little too late in the afternoon, on a Saturday, myself.
I can support whatever.
So, I mean, I would even be inclined to say, we'll just stick with 6 to 2, but if we want to adjust it, we can, I mean, but not-
6 to 2 with operation and give them a leeway in the morning and
Yep.
the afternoon.
I'm okay with that,
So 6 to 2.
yeah.
So that stays the
So
same.
basically,
It does,
their,
but we're
their
also
summer
saying-
hours are gonna just be your
Or
one.
if the truck comes back.
For the operators.
Correct, the summer hours are now gonna be their hours,
But we're allowing them 30 minutes.
and then they do have the prep time and the ancillary operation. Guys, good with that? Yes, is that okay? Alright,
What, I'm new here.
yep.
proper to ask the building inspector what his opinion is? Or he's not on the board, so he's not a voting member, but
Yes.
I don't,
does
you can ask me, I don't write the
That's
law.
Right, well, does this, we're trying to address some of the ambiguity in what's going on now. In your opinion, does this address it, what we're talking about doing?
Is it enforceable? I guess we should be.
Yeah, that's a good
Well, it's hard to enforce when you got in the conditions, he's got 10 days to correct any violation. So it's kinda like the road being a mess. He's got 9 days, 11 hours, 59 minutes to clean it up.
So you get a complaint, you
Until
talk
he
to
gets a
him, he cleans
violation.
the road,
And he
and
cleans it, he cleans it up maybe that day or the day after. You got 10 days. All them conditions, he's in violation, he has 10 days to correct it. So if a truck comes back late, somebody calls me, it gets corrected on it.
Right.
So,
They're not cumulative, each violation is handled independently. So as long as that specific violation is corrected in 10 days, then it's corrected and there's no further action that you can take. But what this should do is the argument of, I heard a backup alarm at 5 minutes to 6, that,
I don't get those. Where I get a lot of the complaints was nighttime heater, the heater running, they put the 3-sided structure around it.
yeah,
There was one resident who was calling me at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 AM about the heater running.
boy, how do you fix that? How do you address that? Can we tell him that he can't run the heater? I mean, that's a,
That's why I put the 3-sided spray foam structure around it, to try to
we need
mitigate
to
that.
dampen it, but it's gotta exhaust somewhere,
Mhm.
right?
And, I really wanna know why we don't have a young lady named Patsy Spears here that lives 350 feet from it. And another gentleman that may be 800 feet, named Douglas Haskins, to voice their concerns, because they're the closest. Jeff Stevens across the street.
You haven't heard from any of them?
No, none. I asked Patsy if it bothered her, she said no. Her husband, boyfriend works at Ellis, comes home at 6 AM, he sleeps all day. They can't do it without. I don't live there, I don't know, We got 3 residents who are really close, that never complain, and I've asked them if it's bothered them, they don't.
But there's no, there's no way to, you couldn't tell him that you can't use the heater can't be run between 6 PM and, I guess.
You just can't,
6
it'll
AM.
freeze up.
Right. Like tells them you can't,
No,
you
without
cut your
having a-
furnace off,
Right,
right? You
and
just-
without having a noise ordinance, I mean, I could run a generator,
Yeah,
I
good
get my
point.
power shut off and I run a generator, there's nothing my neighbors can do,
It's not public
Right.
noise from the fireworks, even though we can hear it in the neighborhood. Call them, hey, yes, we go, can you stop the fireworks?
Yeah, I mean, the heater running isn't part of the operations of the plant, but, I mean, obviously he found out what happened not having the heater and.
So do we wanna talk about the request to drive north on Darrow?
I was always under the assumption that the signs are gonna be posted on both sides of the road, both ends of the road, for local delivery only, okay? For some reason, I don't understand why the signs on the end of 6, were taken down,
Yes.
and I don't understand why they were taken down. That would stop other people from driving down the road.
Right.
It's hard to, even though they agreed to it, they agreed that they would only go south. It's hard to say, you have to go south, or we're letting other people use the road. If the signs were there, that would stop that.
Or at least it would stop some.
Yeah.
I mean, great, cause you can't control everybody, but the signs are still there, from my understanding, on other, not on 6 and 51, and
Right.
that intersection, but they're on the other
Yes.
smaller roads.
Yes.
Silver Mills and Stone and
Lily Marsh.
Thank you, Lily Marsh, is the one I heard, so I agree, I think we can put it back, but I would also like to, so saying that deliveries clearly being, they're getting a delivery of stone or something that it's, you have a purpose, you're going there for a delivery.
Yes.
But I think that we need to, amend the, what we have pointed out and put in the, you know, losing the term here, I'm trying to think of, the requirements or the, that we're saying where pickup trucks and, people's cars, personal cars, that they work there or whatever, that they cannot turn and go down Darrell Road or Lee Marsh or Stone or things of this nature, so that I believe the intent with the, restrictions were on concrete vehicles, dump trucks, mixer trucks, large,
The deliveries.
I think it,
the
yes.
aggregate.
I don't
The
know,
aggregate
I don't
trucks.
know the exact weight requirement, but I think it's something like, you might know this, like, 10,000 pounds. Anything above that has to go left. Anything below that can go right. I know pickup trucks fall way under that category,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a feeling the service truck would fall under that category, be less than 10,000 pounds.
Yeah, you mean, he
If you're
said,
talking 5 ton.
right, you said the 3,500 truck?
Yes.
Or that's the one, yep,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not.
Now, as far as the flatbed, I don't know the size of that. Anybody, how big it is? I don't know. No.
Well, one question, if you're want, to like set a weight, like what you said, so a commercial vehicle, when they register, they put a maximum gross weight. So, if you set a weight, are you talking like that weight, what they have on their registration, or what they're actually, do you know what I mean? I mean, I can have a truck that weighs 2,500 pounds, and I can register it, say, up to 10,000, but I'm driving down the road and it's 3,000 pounds. So, am I good at that weight, or because my registration says max 10,000, then I shouldn't have that weight?
I think it's the, it falls under the registration, I would believe. It's what it's registered to carry. That'd be the most.
Because they decide what they want that weight set at when they register it. And obviously they pay more for the more weight they have, but if you've got something that you're using, you're loading, you want the maximum you can get out there. So it may be set higher than what they're actually
Well,
using.
even if it's a 350, you can get them up to 2.5 ton rear end suspension. So now you're only talking, 5,000 pounds.
Right.
Is it gonna carry 10,000 pounds? Is it gonna carry 5 ton? I don't think so.
So, okay, so,
I own trucks that look like pickup trucks that are legal to carry 19,500 pounds.
I've never seen it.
A Ford F-550, 19,500 pound gross vehicle weight limit.
No. 550.
An F-550, which still looks like a pickup truck. I mean, that's not a big cab chassis, but I think we are way outside of our jurisdiction now, in my opinion. That the highway superintendent has the authority to regulate the weight of a vehicle on the highway. I don't think the planning board has any horse in this race.
Well, but we can tell them, the planning board can tell them, no, these are the vehicles that you're using, this is how we're going to control what comes in and out, which direction they go to as part of this.
We certainly
That's
can
why I
try.
don't know, like, and I don't know the
We
size of
certainly
the
can try.
service truck, I don't know, I don't know what that looks like.
You know, I have a sensitivity to this, cause I once went to court over this.
oh,
And regulating vehicles on a public highway is a sticky thing. The city of Oswego tried to tell me that I could not drive on city streets. And it ended as, no, you have to tell everyone they can't drive on city streets. And the only legal way they could do it was to post a maximum weight limit. They couldn't say that colored vehicle can't go on this street, but that colored vehicle can go on this street. And that fell right up into state and federal interstate commerce laws. I think we are on, if.
Alright, so I guess I want to address the issue that we did word it and saying all vehicles exiting this plant should turn left and go south and Darrow. I believe the spirit of it was not to restrict, I'm going out to get a sandwich and I'm taking my
Pickup truck. and
my pickup truck, whatever, and I can't go right on this road. But it truly was with the intention that these larger, vehicles that are the main concern on Dower Road, not normal vehicles, but that those are the ones that we're saying we wanna direct away from the narrower section of Dower Road as it gets smaller and smaller. So that's all I'm trying to put a restriction, and I understand what you're saying, cause Jason said he has a flatbed, I do not know the size of this vehicle that he has, or its weight, but,
Or what it's used for.
or what it's used for, I have no idea.
Well, there's-
So we could just distinguish even in just saying,
Cement trucks,
regular,
What's the,
pump trucks, tractor trailers.
what's the justification?
or determined,
No, I mean, what, in your mind, I wanna understand this.
yes,
Cause there's a couple of different things that I would think would be the answer to this. Is the justification that we're trying to, maintain the integrity of the road? And we think that heavy vehicles are gonna bother that?
well, I think
or-
it was demonstrated with the